Welcome back to the Boks Office. This episode sponsored by Investec, leading international bank and wealth managers. We will be previewing a jam-packed weekend of Investec Champions Cup and also the European Challenge Cup. I am joined by a star-studded panel, a coach, a double World Cup winner, and lots of fun in the room today. And now the Boks Office is open. Welcome back to the Boks Office. But before I introduce my two esteemed guests, I would like to make a public announcement, please. The last time we had a show, Shimmy was seen at a Pick and Pay all-you-can-eat competition. We have not seen him since. Shimmy is still missing. If we have any information about his whereabouts, please leave a comment below. We are worried about the man, and that is why he is not here today. I don't know where Shimmy is. It's a very big concern for all of us, but I am joined by two esteemed guests, as mentioned. Firstly, both Springboks, but former Springbok coach Nick Mallett and Springbok, and double World Cup winning Springbok Stephen Kitshoff, the spicy plum himself. Welcome, guys.
Very nice.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, nice to have you here.
Good.
Are you excited?
Energetic start.
Yes,
well
it
done.
is.
Yeah.
It is.
There are lots of pick and pay stores, so it's difficult to find Shimmy.
But yeah, and I mean, he's a difficult guy to find. The best of days, you know. But I mean, what do you guys reckon? Have you not seen him anywhere?
No, I haven't, but hopefully swallowed one of those air tags so we can just start tracking. Or follow the crumbs.
What's the story about? What's the goal with the crumbs?
I don't know.
What's that?
No clue. Where did that come from?
Kitsy, last time you were on the show, you were close to announcing your retirement. We couldn't announce it then yet. It's official now. Done with the game of rugby. Is Amy sick of having you at home yet or not?
No.
What have you been up to?
Yeah, no. Amy has actually been on a golf trip in the States for the last 3 weeks. So,
So she's also retired now.
yeah, she's also retired.
She decided when he retired
Yeah.
to take up sport. Where
Yeah.
golf tour?
No, it's country tour.
Okay.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, no, she was there with Saskia and some of the other girls, and they're just coming back in a couple of days, but just been away for 3 weeks. So.
Saskia being
RG's wife.
RG's wife.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So
Had a good time.
they stick together.
Yeah, they do.
Is she?
Missed it. Have you missed it? Practices and going to practice?
I miss the team environment. I don't miss Tuesday morning scrum sessions and live mauling, but I do miss the game day leading up to that. I mean, watching the boys play on a Saturday gets quite emotional when it becomes tough and the guys are giving everything. And so, yeah.
That's when you miss it, eh?
Yeah,
When
100%.
you kind of get that feeling as well. You want to
Yeah.
be part of it. The maul sessions and the scrumming sessions never seemed like fun for me. Watching from 15 meters away, standing in the backs and talking about the moves that we're about to mess up.
Working out your next interception strategy.
Yeah. It's a big strategy.
It is.
Yeah.
You were very good at it, John.
Thank you very much, Nick.
You were.
Is that the first compliment you've ever given me?
No, I think you've had over 100 caps. I mean, I have to compliment you. I mean,
Yeah,
as we
thanks.
said, if you weren't injured, you would have had 200 caps.
Yeah. 109, eh?
109 it was.
Yeah, I mean, together we've got 111, eh? Spicy.
How many times have you coached the Springboks?
Yeah, no, none. That's grey.
Yes, true.
I've still got my
Quite
colour.
true,
you know.
quite true.
No, that you'll always. I actually coached. I coached after one of my injuries.
Yeah.
I coached Marty's under 20s for one season.
Did you?
Yeah.
And
That was it was a great.
stressful, enjoyment?
Yeah, I don't think it was that
No,
stressful, you know, back then. I mean, I was 24 years old.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
you don't worry about life too much then. But it does give you better perspective on,
It does, yeah.
you know, players and playing cohesively and just I think a different view on
really.
when you go back playing as well. So lots of respect for coaches and you. Spicy Plum, it must be one of the best nicknames ever.
100%.
Okay. Now that you are retired, and I had the pleasure of spending a lot of time. You know, I saw you grow up, Stevie. from an 18-year-old joining the Stormers, to where you are today. Share some of the best nicknames you ever heard, either for yourself or others.
I reckon Spicy Plant's probably up there. Fanta Pants was a... I dubbed quite early.
Did they call you that? They.
Is that him?
No. It was a combo between him and Worms. Royers. Bricklig. Okay, a couple.
Ginger Ninja.
Ginger Ninja. Yeah, he's up there.
Okay, so just about 5.
And have a sense of humour.
No.
And other guy, what's the, I mean, in your day, did you have nicknames? I mean, seeing that you're the fake George Clooney.
Domkrach was the prop from Dom, because he could lift a truck, but without having to need the thing. That was what is his surname? The Domkrach from EP.
Yeah,
he was a very powerful guy.
Frans Erasmus.
Yes, Frans Erasmus.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
I think. But there were lots of flakkas close. They were the Afrikaans.
Draadkar de Lange.
Exactly. They were always better than any English guys.
Baksteen.
Baksteen.
Yeah. No, there's been some good ones.
Yeah.
Normally the forwards, though.
Yeah, definitely.
It is more.
Oh, but your heart get broken if something calls you something.
The backs are a little bit more sensitive.
Very sensitive. Too sensitive almost.
Yeah. Kitsy, we briefly now just spoke about the retirement. Has it been difficult adapting? I mean, we've shared some time together now since retirement, and I found it tough. I don't know about you, Nick, but maybe even when you stepped away from the coaching role, but it's a big change in life, eh?
It is.
So and to be honest, I mean, I probably took about 5 years before you feel, okay, now I'm settled again, now got this new life going. Have you found it difficult?
I have. I think we quickly, myself and Nick spoke about it just before the time, is that scheduling, like like when you play rugby, everything is almost spoon-fed. You get the schedule in weeks in advance, and now all of a sudden you're sitting at home. You got these ventures you're involved in, but you have to set up your own meetings, you have to set up your own time when you want to go train.
You're in charge of your own diary.
100%. And I found that quite difficult in the beginning, because I do tend to forget to place things in my diary, and then last second I'll come, I'm like, oh flip, I need to be somewhere.
Thanks for arriving on time today.
Do that well. It's really tricky. There were stories. I mean, some guys, Joost van der Westhuizen, who very, very sadly passed away. Apparently, he had never got his own passport. He never ever had his own clothes. Never bought any clothes. Everything was done for him. He was playing for the Northern Transvaal in that time, the Bulls, and then he played for the Springboks, and he started at whatever it was, 19, right through to 33, 34. And suddenly at 35, you've got to make a decision on how to run your life. And it's especially the structure is taken away. And that structure which you've grown up with, discipline, your teammates, you arrive on time, there are a whole lot of things you just in a nice, comfortable environment, and suddenly you're on your own. And it's tricky. It's very tricky.
Yeah, it's like, because when you're in that team environment, it's kind of, Sunday morning, you're in the team hotel, your weekly schedule gets slipped, underneath the hotel door. You look, okay, Monday, Tuesday, whatever, lying ahead, and then you plan accordingly. Now it's like, okay, your diary's open. Every Sunday or every Monday, it's like, okay, now you have to start filling it. What are you going to do? When are you going to train? I mean, do you get time for training now?
I literally just told myself, if I don't just at like 6:30 in the morning and go train at 7, I'm not going to get to it anyway.
Yeah.
So I try to build that into my routine as well. So just trying to stay active in some way, and started playing paddle of all things. So it's just slowly getting there, and but I do. As the weeks go on, it becomes a bit more natural.
Yeah.
So
you get used to it. Yeah. Should maybe consider more cardio. I'm just
going to find shimmy somewhere.
Take shimmy with you.
The two of you.
Nick, like for you, when you finished coaching, did you feel the same or not really? I mean, you were lucky also that you moved into other ventures.
I sort of moved from role to role. I was a player in South Africa, then I left to France, and I was a player coach in France.
Yeah.
So I was actually on the field, but as a coach of the team second division side. I did two second division teams. Then I came back and I even played a game for False Bay while I was coaching them. There were 3 injuries to the loose forwards, and I played once a game for them. And then when I coached Boland, I moved into, but I trained with the guys, So it was sort of I almost didn't want to let it go, the playing side. And then as you get older, you just can't keep up. So it was, and then, doing the Springboks and then going over to Stade Francais in Italy. And then when I came back after that, I was fully intending to go back into coaching. I came back for a year. After Italy, I thought I'd take a year off and just, think about where I'd go next. And then the Supersport thing came up and I enjoyed that so much, I just decided to stay. So I stayed in rugby, and it's quite nice doing that, staying involved in something which you've done all your life.
And you almost get weaned off in that way,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So for me the same now with Supersport, you're involved with the rugby, but you're not as attached. And the difference between coaching or playing versus just giving your opinion about rugby is that you don't take it home with you.
No, exactly.
When you're the coach or the player, you go home and flip on Sunday, you're still worried about the game and the result, and you see people in the shopping centre and they start talking, why I did this and that and whatever. Now you just give your opinion and you go home.
Yeah.
Not that you opinionate it, but
you're 100% correct. I remember not sleeping at night. At Stade Francais, the second year, we were battling to qualify, having been champs the year before. And I'd wake up at 1 and then at 2 o'clock and then 3 o'clock trying to work out new line-out things and maybe the opposition and what had got wrong and maybe is that the right guy I'm picking, and am I on, have I got the team on your side, and have I lost the change room? You go through all these things and it's very, very stressful. So as a player, funnily enough, less stressful because you've got your job to do and you know what that job is. Yeah. But when you coach, you've got the responsibility for the whole lot. Yeah. And so I really didn't miss that. I loved the coaching. I loved being with the players and also fellow coaches. The fun you have with your fellow coaches is really, that's a big part of the team sort of environment that you don't lose because you have a little team of coaches that you work with. But the stress and the pressure, those 15 years or whatever it was that I was doing top level coaching is gives you grey hair.
It reminds you talk about the responsibility of being the coach. Obviously, as both of you, as a captain, you take on more responsibility as well. And when you started talking about, sleepless nights and thinking of, then Japan suddenly came up in my head.
What game was that?
Just that experience.
Jeez, one of them.
I remember, that was, you literally wake up in the middle of the night and say, it was just a nightmare. And there's like, no, it did happen. It did happen.
Has the coach come back yet? Did he leave for 3 days?
Yeah, no, he didn't. Quickly on Stevie, he retires as, one of the best forwards probably South Africa, ever saw. A comment about his career.
I've always admired Stephen, not only for his performances. I mean, the best loose-head prop in the world over how many years? 8 years probably, from the time you really developed, and 22, 23, he was busy beating up people, and then just consistency for every team he played. The Stormers in particular, they were overseas for a short time, came back and captained the Stormers to win, but the big things were the World Cup wins, and remaining humble all the time. I think that is what I admire so much about Stephen. When you've done as well as he's done, he's passed on humility to every squad he's been involved in. So you get a young guy coming in and his name's in the paper the first weekend and he's scored a couple of tries and he's on top of the world. He just has to look at the way that Stephen behaved, and he would realise how you can make your way through the rugby world. And that was, his captaincy was outstanding, but his selflessness was so important to the teams he was involved in, and the quality. And there wasn't a weakness, Steve. You're a great ball carrier, great defender, hardly gave a penalty away ever. Won hundreds of penalties for us. It's a very big compliment, but then you were a great player.
In fairness, he had one weakness, I would say: beer.
It's off the field, John. Yeah. We all have weaknesses off the field.
Could see Nick speaks about your career and whatever. There's always someone you look up to, and I must say, I had the great privilege of playing with 3 world-class loose-heads, in Os Durant, who I think Os probably goes down as one of the greatest ever, just because of
the 2 of them.
And Beast.
Yes. Oh, jeepers.
So having produced 3 loose-heads that can compete as, the best ever. That's pretty special. Did you, was Os someone that you looked up to?
Big time. I think when I was fortunate enough in like that 2010, 2011 era when I joined the Stormers with you guys, I mean, I was playing with guys that I, as a high school kid, looked up, admired and really loved watching play, like yourself, Skalk, Andries, Tian, all those oaks were playing at that time. So for me it was walking from schoolboy rugby into a professional setup, and all of a sudden I'm just with these like legends of South African rugby at that stage. But I think like probably front rowers from school also was definitely one of them. Beast, I love the way Beast played. I had a poster of him in my room growing up. So I think South Africa was always blessed with great forwards, great props in particular, but I mean just playing with yourself, John, with Skalk. That was, I think that is what catapulted me like a little bit and just gave me that little bit of extra to say like this, I want to achieve what they achieved one day in their rugby career.
You see Oxen Chair coming through as well. He's also involved in the World Cup win as well. So, and he might, very likely to go to the next one as well. We are very blessed, and the whole 6-2, 7-1 split couldn't happen if we didn't have the competition and the strength in depth in the tight forwards.
So you speak about the 7-1 split, 6-2 split, and you sit here now as a retired player because of that mishap that happened in a Currie Cup game. Now there was another spat online by our big mate Mr. Matt Williams, again just talking about how unfair the 7-1 split is, and it's not in the ethos of rugby, etc., having a go at Rassie as well. And then Rassie actually said, no, you don't have your facts right here. Because he also said, Matt Williams, that your injury, comes down to the 7-1 split. I mean...
illogical.
It doesn't make sense, though.
There's certainly a bit of ignorance in terms of, those comments.
Presumably he's a backline player, first of all, I imagine. And isn't he Australian? I mean,
he is Australian.
So Australian backline player is not a good start. And to make comments about the forwards, first of all, the comments should be made to World Rugby if he's got comments to make, and it should go through his... I think he did it as a pundit, just like we're sitting here talking. You've got every right to your opinion, but if you want to change it, it's World Rugby can change it. And World Rugby, they've done a medical assessment on whether 7 forwards coming on in the second half brings on numerous injuries, and it doesn't. Absolutely not. There's no evidence whatsoever. So
maybe for the opposition.
Yeah, it's not fun for the opposition. But they can do it. They can match you if they want to match you. The problem is other teams, apart from France, don't have the quality and depth that we have. So it's more that I would say that the frustration for players, for someone like Matt Williams, is that he thinks it's unfair that the country has such strength and depth in this position where our second forwards coming onto the field are stronger than the first that they put on, and their reserves are appreciably worse than their first guys. So it does make a very big difference. But that isn't something that he can change. That's World Rugby has to decide whether they need to change that or not.
Yeah, because I mean, his comment is saying that you got injured because you were part of the bomb squad. But the game that you played in, you were not part of the bomb squad. You started for Western Province in that game, in a Currie Cup game. And sometimes the risk, as you mentioned, lies potentially with if you come on for the opposition. But then to make comments like that, it needs to be factually based that other players got injured because of these fresh guys coming on. And make no mistake, there's no one bigger in terms of player welfare and player safety in the game than me. I chair the Chris Burger Petro Jackson Players Fund as well, and we want to make the game as safe as possible. But comments like that is dangerous to the game, I feel, because, in your opinion, Stephen, you win thousands and thousands of scrums in your career, And it's just that one time,
One time.
the angles,
Exactly.
the force, the whatever was just too much. But that risk is there for every single scrum.
100%. And also, like, just if you think about like 2019 up to 23, how many games did those, say, two groups, so like with the bomb squad, in combination play together? I think it created so much like depth in South African rugby, so much consistency, because guys aren't being pushed up to 70, 75 minutes.
Yes.
They know they're going to play 50 minutes, get subbed off. They get that extra 15 minutes of rest, and then the other guys just play and carry on playing. So you create a squad of forwards that's the ability to interchange any moment in the game, and it creates a lot of back-to-back caps because the guys aren't overworked. They don't get fatigued and tired and not being selected for the following weekend because of overplaying.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it was like actually, like on a health-wise or rugby wellness, I actually think the bomb squad created a bit more longevity in the players' careers.
Exactly. Longevity for the older players and experience for the younger players.
100%.
But John, I mean, you can injure your neck in a scrumming session at practice.
Yep.
You know, if you're getting, if say the reserve Stormers pack is up against Stephen Kitshoff and say Joseph Deba in France, I mean, presumably that's why someone like Newton Fouché has improved as much, because he had to scrum against you for 5 or 6 years. So, but even in those are very intense. They might be short period. They might be only 10 scrums, but they're 10 consecutive scrums, and they go for it like you can't. So you can injure yourself at any given time. So it's not injuries or forcing injuries on others. That has been proven not to be the case. So it is just more about, I suppose, the philosophy of saying that in the old days you used to tire out your opponent.
Yeah.
And so, say you as a prop, it takes you maybe 60 minutes to really get on top of your tight head. And now you can maybe get, say, 2 or 3 penalties in the last. Suddenly they bring a fresh guy on. It's more that sense that we've lost the traditional feel of the game. But the other team can also put a fresh guy on, so it's 2 fresh guys against each other, and that should be, that, as you said.
Also, it's irrelevant because whether you do a 7-1 split, a 8-0 split, or a 5-3 split, there always needs to be 3 forwards,
front
rowers in the reserve. So you always have your resources there to be able to come on. Well, let's move on. We're glad that you're sitting here, because the reality, and that is unfortunately our sport, millimeters away from it being catastrophic.
Tell us about it.
And
this one is 2, and how many millimeters close?
Yeah, so it was the C1.
Sorry, C1.
C1, so there was a ligament that came off. So that's the one that creates all the rotation and movement in your head. So when that ruptured, it's almost like a dislocation of the C1. And that was what's so dangerous. So anything like
beyond,
like if it pinches the spinal cord or anything in that area, it's just stop breathing, because that's the closest part to your lung. Your lung function comes
linked
from.
to the lung function.
Oh, well, I'm really pleased.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that unfortunately is our sport. It's a contact sport. The risk will always be there, but I think that's why we're fortunate for, in South Africa, something like Boks Smart, where post-injury, the way that they treat the players, whether that's at amateur level, school level, club level, or professional level, really well dealt with. And unfortunately, the recipients that we have at the Players Fund, they are the biggest rugby supporters still. You have the Matt Hampson Foundation in the UK that looks after the players as well, and multiple others. So the game is still safe. There will be risk, but hopefully we can get that down to 0. Cool, moving on. SA Rugby in Europe. Now, it's been 3 years since we've been admitted into, playing in Europe. Nick, you coached over there. Kitshoff, you played over there. Maybe your opinion in terms of the SA team's approach to the 2 competitions, playing in 2 competitions, and also, just all these new elements that needed to be incorporated to have success. In these competitions?
Yeah, I think probably for us it's still being very immature in how early on it still is for us to be in Europe, because if you think about how long the URC season is, and then you add the Investec Cup or the Champions Cup in between that, it becomes quite a back-to-back weekends, quite a lot of rugby. So your squad depth needs to be right. the way you manage the players needs to be right. But I think South African rugby will probably adapt soon and start understanding the importance of European games. I feel like maybe this year it was it took a bit of a backseat and everyone just focused on the URC. But I think South African rugby, as time goes on, definitely becomes stronger, more competitive, especially in those away games, and we'll hopefully start seeing results out in our way.
Because we haven't seen a South African team go past the quarterfinals in the Investec Championship.
You see, we have chatted on the show about this exact point. It's really, the issue is you've got to play your best players in the European Cup. And that's almost when we're resting our best players,
yes, exactly.
because they've got a season, Springbok season ahead, and they have to have a certain period of rest during the season. And the coaches take a look at URC and they say, well, that's more in the face of our public. We follow that closer probably than we do the European Cup, mainly I think because it's so staggered. You've got 2 games in November, then 2 games January, then 2 games in March. And people say, well, what's going on here? It's quite difficult to follow the European or the Investec Cup, Champions Cup competition in comparison to the URC. We know where we're going with that one. And your point about squad depth, John, that's the most important. Unless we have, like Leinster, 45 players capable of playing at URC level and 15 to 20 capable of playing at international level, it's very hard to win that European Cup competition. Look at the teams that have got into the final now. Leinster certainly got that. Bègle Bordeaux is very, very powerful, and so is Toulouse, and they've just knocked off La Rochelle. That's incredibly powerful. So the top 4 or 5, they're generally French, and you've got Leinster. I mean, we have got, is it Northampton?
Northampton,
And I think they're playing particularly well at the moment. But it'll be very hard for them to do well in the Premiership at the same time as doing well in the Investec Cup. And I think that's what, look at the Bulls. The Bulls, they're doing really well. I think the fact that they beat Munster away and beat Glasgow away was because they weren't involved anymore in the Challenge Cup. They were able to focus purely. And they've got a very decent squad, decent side from a South African perspective, as has the Sharks. But for the Stormers, it's very, very difficult, or the Lions, very difficult to focus on both.
Yeah. You look at the success at the highest level then for us with the Springboks. And I think that's been phenomenal, the way that we've had success in previous reigns and whatever, but I think our consistency throughout every year being competitive and then winning the World Cups as well, that's been for me the biggest, I suppose, improvement in the squad. Our under-20s finished 7th, I think, in that competition. No real success in the Investec Champions Cup. URC, we're fighting. How long will we be able to sustain success at Springbok level if we don't perform at club and junior levels? Because also to add, you'd speak about Leinster, but Leinster's got a really good development system. Their academy system is so good, the way they introduce players. And yes, they're able to attract them, but then they're able to kind of improve their skill set until they step up into the senior squad.
Yeah, I think probably, as Nick said, like that squad depth, like where you need a squad of 45. Most of our Springboks are based in Japan or based in Europe. So if we can somehow get those guys back, I think that the squad depth would grow, first of all, and then you'll have teams that compete. So we must try and understand Rassie's mindset here. If he trying to save budget to develop new guys in South Africa and keep the guys fresh in Japan, and then his only focus is on how well the Springboks does. And then you'll let the URC sides fight it out amongst each other for top spot there. But I think it's budget, it's how you're going to manage players. I know a lot of these guys want to come back, but it's how do you manage that and keep the South African side strong, plus you keep your Springboks centre focused.
Because you go.
I think money and finance is the most important. I mean, you're going to get a stage where you can't afford to keep all the top players. The rand isn't strong enough to pay them what they can get, or even 2/3 of what they can get overseas. So he's probably saved South Africa. Rassie has saved South Africa a lot of money by saying to the players, "Go overseas, come back for camps," and he's negotiated that the guys will be available for the November tour, and the Japanese guys can be released, etc. So it is a financial problem above all. And when you consider that Leinster, for example, they sign up Ergie Snyman and they sign up Geordie Barrett, and they're never going to be playing in the Six Nations, but they will be two seriously experienced, both played in World Cup finals, and they'll be there with the up-and-coming Leinster players when they're having to play URC games.
And
So
when
that's
Six
amazing.
Nations,
Yes,
and they
exactly.
lose all their Irish
That's
players,
right.
we've got Ergin Snyman and Geordie Barrett, they're taking the youngsters,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
the kind of base of that squad, and the youngsters being able to learn from them. Rico Ioane signed for Leinster for next year. That's going to be an interesting one,
Not the
given the World Cup thing and him and Sexton.
Yes,
That's,
exactly.
Yeah.
I think, listen, I don't think he's a Geordie Barrett. He's not that type of guy who will fit into a system like that, quite a structured.
It'll be interesting to
it's
see.
a properly structured system.
Yeah.
With Jacques coaching the defence, but he's got lots of talent, and it'll be interesting. Where he will be playing 13, will he?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So,
Again, Gary Ringrose himself,
yeah.
Henshaw, the proper talent there.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Japanese guys. Why would you come back to South Africa? If you're playing in Japan now as a top Springbok and you're earning proper money, you're probably playing half the games that the guys play in South Africa. You're still eligible to play for South Africa. The season runs opposite when the international season is on. Why would you come back?
No.
Obviously, you've got so much to offer here in South Africa and family and all of that.
Yeah, that basically, like if you get to probably a certain age, like early 30s, you'll probably start want to settle in, live in your home city. But otherwise, I think like
Once you've made enough cash.
yeah, I think like how Malcolm and Dukes and all these Oaks are setting up their lives. It's ideal. The Oaks are playing 15 games a year max for their club. Getting a lot of off time, and then they, as you said, they can be selected for the Springboks. So it's a win-win for them.
And
they
get
come
a head start in life financially.
Jacques Fourie told me once, that he had to turn down going to the World Cup in 2015.
Yeah.
He couldn't afford to leave Japan because South Africa couldn't pay him what he was getting paid monthly. He was getting paid so well that he was setting himself up for the rest of his life by doing that. And that's what for rugby players, not like golfers, who can go on and play in the senior tour. Rugby, you've got to make your money as in what a 10-year time frame, perhaps.
Yeah.
I should have played for money.
You did. You went to. Didn't you go to Leinster? Munster.
Well, yeah.
They gave you free beer.
No, that was for nothing. I went for nothing. Did you have mixed emotions when Ulster played Sharks on the weekend? Okay. I mean, now you're checking some of your former teammates on both sides, but was it?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't actually.
Who are you rooting for, Kitsy, in that game?
Like, I just always want the South African sides to win.
That's true, eh? Yeah.
That's diplomatic.
That'll go down. That'll go down really well with your supporters back in Belfast. Okay, guys. Investec Champions Cup preview. Bordeaux, your former team, versus Toulouse. That could so easily have been the final as well.
Yeah.
Two teams on an absolute high. 1 and 2 in the top 14. They're playing unbelievable rugby, attacking rugby, defensively solid as well. I'm just thinking Damien Penaud, the tries that he scored for Bordeaux, Luku, the way that he's playing, Jalibert after everything that was going on, and then he take Toulouse, this monster pack, Interback coming into his own with Dupont not there, Ramos, just so much quality on show.
It's a test match, isn't it? Eh?
It's going to be a test match.
That competition. The French side's take incredibly seriously because their budgets are so high, and and European Cup they pay out well for winning semi-final and final. So it's a huge match. Are they playing at Bègle or are they playing at Toulouse? I don't know who's the.
It'll be neutral.
Semi-final.
Semi-final is
it neutral? Not sure about that. Yeah.
Let's just fact check where our games that we are discussing here today will be played.
Yeah.
And in time, Jeremy, yes? Where are we playing?
At Bordeaux.
They are playing at Bordeaux.
Good. Well, I would make.
And sorry, Nick, to interrupt you. And Bordeaux has beaten Toulouse twice this year in the top 14.
Yeah.
But they've got a very, very strong side at the moment. I could watch a couple of the top 14
Bordeaux.
games.
Yeah.
Like they've been playing with such bold scrum over this.
Since you left.
Yeah.
They went through a dip and then they picked up again. But no.
Yeah.
Who are you speaking about?
The scrummy. Luku.
Yeah.
I mean, he's driving that team
Yeah.
from the front. He's been a great captain for them, I think, this year. And it's just, I mean, with Dupont being injured, I think he might step up into that French 9 position quite quickly.
That was going to be my question. No Dupont for Toulouse.
Yeah.
And it does seem as if Luku, with Dupont now not being there and kind of being the... they've got Legarac from Racing as well, but it seems like Luku is now the man there. And you just see he's so much
Or,
yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Jalibert's always got a chip on his shoulder. He wants a point to prove.
Yeah.
You know, playing against Tamac, so there's the incumbent that he's playing against. You'd like to say to Fabien Galtier, look, you're making a grave mistake by not picking me.
Yeah.
And Pinot just plays out of his skin for Beg. I mean, they've got an incredible intuitive between him and Jalibert. You know, that one where he scored 6 tries in one game.
Yeah,
it's absolutely
phenomenal.
Incredible. So that'll be a real cracker to watch. I think Beg playing at home, I think could take it. I think Toulouse were quite lucky to get past Toulon.
Yeah.
You know, had that Toulon winger just marked it in his 22 in the last kick of the game, kicked it out, they might have lost that game. I mean, he dropped it, scrummed down, gave a penalty away at the scrum, or gave the penalty away at the breakdown, in fact, and then Ramos kicked it over. So but they only won by 1 point and were very close to getting knocked out by Toulon. I think it'll be a tough one at Beg.
We speak about Bordeaux, and then it's Louis Bierberry, Damien Pinot, Jalibert, Mofana in in the midfield, Luku. We don't mention that many of their forwards.
Yeah.
Then you look at Toulouse, and yes, they've got unbelievable backs, but a beast of a pack.
Yeah.
Do you see that kind of shifting it, or will the Bordeaux pack be good enough to stand up against Toulouse, which they've done previously?
See, that's also a difficult thing about knockout rugby. Like, you have to win your scrums, you have to win your line-out, your mauling has to be on spot on. So I think if...
Win penalties there.
You win penalties, you win territory like that. But I think if Toulouse can pile on the pressure when it comes to scrum time, mauling, and they actually pin Bordeaux back in their corner and doesn't allow their backs to run like they've been running in that interplay and kicking game of theirs, I think it might become a tight game, or even Toulouse can run away with it by just piling on the pressure and kicking, and Ramos just kicking those threes all the time. So it'll be quite interesting to see how the game unfolds. If it maybe starts like hot and everyone just runs around, and then from there you see how it starts turning in the screws to build that pressure.
There's also massive crowd pressure in France. People who haven't been there don't understand quite how, and it can be a neutral ref, he can be an Irishman or Welsh or English, but that the pressure of the crowd, you know, for going for the home side is very intense, more than anywhere else in the world. So just those 50-50 calls tend to go with the home side, and that is a big advantage in France.
The Louis Bierberry, he scored 25 tries this season. He's only 21 years old. In
75 kilos, 78 kilos.
In all comps, he was player of the Six Nations. Could he go down? Could he potentially be one of the best ever for France?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so.
Too early to say.
Well, he's had a cracking start. I mean, Cheslin has gone down as one of our greats, and it's all about his work rate, his what he does off the ball, his ability then one-on-one with a player, and he's got all of this. You know, you see him often doubling around and looking for work on the right wing, let alone the left wing, where he's got a very intelligent little grubber and chase game. He's an outstanding all-round footballer, that guy.
Yeah. Almost feels like his style of playing with the French international side and Bordeaux is similar. Like he's all about work rate, all about getting his hands on the ball, building that pressure, chasing Oaks down. And I think if he can keep that fitness and that health, I think he can 100% be one of the greats.
Injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, and definitely, you know, you get wings that sniff out tries. He has the ability, you know, he'll score one. You know, everyone, you know, you'll say to another guy, hell, if only he'd picked that up, or if only that grubber had been a metre short. His are always, he does pick it up.
He finds himself in the right
position.
Yeah.
And that's a mark of greatness.
Kitsy, you spent 2 seasons at Bordeaux. Yeah. Favourite time? Because, I mean, I must say at the World Cup in 23, it was the first time I went to Bordeaux for one of the Boks games, and what an unbelievable place.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Your best memories, excuse me, off the field there?
No, I think it's probably... I've never been a big wine drinker, but I think I fell in love with red wine when I was in Bordeaux. I think we met some of the most incredible winemakers, and they showed us around there. So flip it up, we were very blessed, and we, like my missus and myself, love living in the city. So we stayed in the heart of Bordeaux, and then
It's beautiful.
Nice.
just
walk around,
experience all the food and wine. So it was just brilliant.
Like Toulouse, it's a university city as well, so you get a lot of youngsters and a lot of fun, big vibe. And Saint-Emilion, there's some of the best wine is just around the corner. It's fantastic. I'm actually going for 3 weeks this year. So
to Bordeaux?
Yeah. Well, in the area around Bordeaux. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it is.
Just for holiday?
Yeah.
It's a tough life.
Well, when you work as hard as I am.
You're still adapting to this transition from not coaching. And
when you get to my age, John, you'll be doing it, I promise you.
And your experience from when you were over there, was there a big change from the amateur era to the professional era, and just the French mentality versus South African?
I absolutely loved the time in France. In both countries, but obviously here it was to try and become, win Currie Cups and become a Springbok. But there it was you played for your town. You played for. They've got it's all centered around town.
Yeah.
It's not province there at all. So Toulouse or Toulon or Bordeaux or Paris. You were. There was a real connection with the people who came to your games. And you also, during the week, I mean, you'd play a game on Saturday, then you go into a bistro to have a coffee in the morning, and the supporters would be all around you, all your own guys, saying, "Why did you give that penalty away? I mean, you can't be so stupid." So you had to learn to get on with people.
All in French.
All in French. And it's pas possible, abruti, que tu as fait l'erreur comme ça.
How's your French?
Horrible.
No, it was wonderful. And also, just another thing which you and Shimi would have enjoyed. Every single town has got its own cuisine. So you go down and you have, in Toulouse, it's a special cassoulet, whatever it is. And Bordeaux, it'll be seafood or whatever. But it's fantastic. In every single one, we used to have a speciality of the town. And it's just a lovely place. And wine, clearly.
You love your red wine,
Yeah.
Nick? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Leinster versus Northampton Saints. Saints, and you mentioned it earlier now in the program, the Saints are not struggling, but I think they're 8th at the moment in the Premiership. Still possibility that they can make it into the playoffs. But again, the fact that you have to probably don't have as big a budget and squad as Leinster and some of the French teams, but they've done well. They've got a lot of guys, basically the whole England backline, playing for Northampton. So the exposure at test level, but they're up against a pretty strong Leinster team.
Irish team.
Basically the Irish team. How do you see that one?
No, I can't see Leinster losing that one. Like, I think just their experience, their depth, the way they've been playing this season, their defensive structures, and the pressure they put into the breakdown. I don't think Northampton will be able to live up to it.
See, Northampton is tough. Good win last weekend, a really good win. But all the top players were playing. I mean, Leinster didn't play their top players against Scarlets. They lost to Scarlets. Everyone said, "Oh, what a shock, horror!" But it was their reserve side that played, and they're in that position. Thanks to the good performances they've had in the URC up to now, so they can afford to put, lose a couple of games, providing they protect their best players. So they're going in, and I mean, they must be so irritated by having got to, top of the URC, top of the championship, and played in 2 finals or 3 consecutive Champions Cup, and not being able to win one. They have had an empty, case for a while, empty trophy cabinet, and they're going flat out, I think, now for both.
The similar game last year, also semi-final. These two teams, and just at the end, Leinster won. They won 20 points to 17. Saints have only won 1 away game from home this year, so everything is very much pointing towards Leinster winning this one. But then you take into account...
They beat the Bulls away.
What's that?
They beat the Bulls away.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Was that the only one? Not a bad effort. Because Bulls, you look what they're doing now, they're pretty good. So, I remember they took every single opportunity. I mean, they were dominated the whole game. I think they got into the 22 4 times and scored 4 tries, something like that. So they really have got a very good strike rate. But with respect to the Bulls, their defence has improved enormously over the last couple of months, well, this month particularly, but the Leinster defence won't allow those tries that were allowed by the Bulls back in.
So how do you see Saints winning this one?
No, I don't. Not even, I don't.
I can't.
What needs to happen? So you don't go into a game saying the team's got no chance whatsoever. What needs to happen? Must it be raining, forward battle, kicking the ball and hoping for a lucky try? They don't have that.
It might come down to a lucky try if their defensive structures hold out.
Yeah.
And I think it might come down to a lucky try, a ball bouncing in a Augustus' hands, or and he makes a line.
Pollock, that young guy, he's playing some really
Pollock,
good.
Pollock,
Alex Mitchell at 9 playing
very
really
good
well.
inside.
Very good. Finn Smith, I really like him at 10.
So it's not as if they don't have players that
they got
with the X factor, but you're going to need them really to show something brilliant on the day, create something out of nothing. I think get a lucky-ish try, but then also be competitive at set phase, make your tackles, etc., because that is Leinster. That flow of the attack.
Wave after wave.
It's wave after wave, and you need to be at your best. And now defensively, they haven't conceded a point.
Yeah.
I reckon, probably to stop Leinster's attack, that will probably be the biggest challenge.
Exactly,
is that pressure on their 9-10 combo, and then not allowing them to get the ball, those little passes out the back. So the pressure that they have to build, I think, has to be consistent, and they actually have to make those spot tackles.
And create slow racks.
Yeah. So that's 100% correct. If you don't put them on, they need to put Leinster's set piece under pressure, which allows their defence to get off the line that fraction faster, which allows them to slow down the ruck ball of Leinster. Because once you slow their ruck ball down, you can set again. The real difficulty against them is when they get that momentum going. It's 2 meters across the advantage line every time, and it's the in-out and RG little offload.
Jamison, Gibson, Park,
and taking good decisions, and Prendergast taking good decisions. So you're 100% correct. The way to stop the Leicester's attack is through the set piece initially, and that allows your defence to stay on the front foot. But you've got to have aggressive tackles. You've got to put them backwards. It can't be a defensive tackle, because even a defensive tackle, the guy will then be able to get the ball
back out.
How good has Geordie Barrett been for Leinster? I mean, that was an amazing signing, and just the kind of player he comes in, seems like he is really
committed to the team.
to making a difference there.
It almost just feels like he just slotted in.
It
wasn't like wasn't like a honeymoon phase where he had to trying to find his feet. He almost just started playing and enjoys that structure that they're playing with, the bit of freedom he gets when he gets his hands on the ball. So it's quite interesting.
Is that an effect of the environment that he comes into? Is that an effect of the person that he is, or a combination of both?
I think that, farmer, New Zealand farmer, 3 brothers played rugby, huge respect for the New Zealand jersey, doesn't want to let down his reputation, played in the World Cup final. You have all that when you come, and I think you would know what it was like. When they sign you up, they sign up this person who they expect to perform and do well for them. So, there's the responsibility not to let your new team down. And he's got that in spades. And I think when they see that, I imagine that the Irish guys just accept you immediately when they see how committed you are to them. And you're not there on a paid holiday. You're there to actually really learn and listen and be part of and be a teammate and all that.
Hopefully win a trophy.
Yeah, and help them win a trophy. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the greatest compliment you can give him. Fantastic player, but I think as a human being, it just he showcased the best of the best of just being a good bloke.
Didn't he braai with you once? Wasn't there was a thing? There was from him and Ergie braaiing or something like that. It was around the time of Springboks playing in the rugby championship. I thought there was a scene.
Was it him or was it Bowden Barrett and Peter Steff?
Bowden Barrett and Peter Steff.
Oh, was it Bowden Barrett? Sorry. Okay, that's it. But I mean, you'd find Ergie, and I'm sure Ergie and
Does Ergie braai?
Sometimes with petrol.
Who's another one you're talking about international player? Who's the best player you ever scrummed against?
No, I'm taking this long ago. But
you're not allowed to say South African guys.
No. So the biggest learning curve I've received, or the biggest punishment I received, was scrumming against Owen Franks, and it's now a couple of years ago. Played a semi-final, quarter-final against Crusaders back in 2011. Yeah. The only thing that stopped me from going backwards was the upright post.
Nonsense, man.
Yeah.
Did he catch you?
You caught me, and it was tough.
Oh.
But
Well, what? You were 19 years old.
19 years old.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got to learn. You got to learn somewhere.
Yeah.
That's
And then, throughout the years, like playing against All Blacks, like started understanding what he does and became a bit easier. But yeah,
yeah.
that was probably
Did you scrum against Castro Giovanni ever?
No, just missed out.
Yeah.
He was a good. He was very.
He
good.
was a
very
proper
good tight
Yeah.
end.
The looking at the season ahead and the lines coming up. So taking this game in isolation, the Leinster Northampton game, you have Alex Mitchell up against Jamison Gibson Park. Probably, in my view, the one and two for the Lions. You have Prendergast versus Finn Smith.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tight.
Let's quickly speak about, and I'd love to get your opinion, Nick, because we spoke about it earlier.
Yeah.
The fly-off,
Yeah.
the fly-off role, because these two guys probably are more suited on the one side of a fly-off you're looking at, and then on the other side you're looking at a
Flair.
at Flair, at a Finn Russell, at a Marcus Smith, etc.
So I mean, I said it last time, but my personal, as a coach, I really like a fly-off who's a conductor for others. He conducts other people into space, creates space, gets his team going forward, works out when the right time it is to kick and put the ball in front of his forwards, when the right time it is to play his centre, when it's time to play out the back, when it's time to talk to your scrum off and tell him to kick. That type of structure, of well-structured 10 is the one I like. The sort of 10 who does these out of the back of the hand passes and no look, this and that. And they've got the ability to throw two dummies and go through themselves or chip over the line and catch it themselves. They are spectacular. They are very, very impressive. But it's very difficult for a backline to play outside a player like that. So Finn Russell, if you take his error rate and his success rate, he's probably learned a tremendous amount from being at Bath. Because Bath have now... They're playing really well, top of that. So he has to be complimented for what he's done with that team. But when you see him, in a test match situation, if things aren't going well for Scotland, he pushes it and pushes it and pushes it. And sometimes you just need to stay within the structure. Your team, the 14 other players on the field, need to know that you're going to put them in the right areas of the field. And sometimes he doesn't do that, even though he can still create unbelievable tries. So Farrell will go in there. He'll have his own mindset as to what type of game he's going to play against Australia. But my view is you don't want an unstructured game against Australia. They like an unstructured game. Australia, they don't want a set piece to set piece and a well-organised sort of Irish attack holding onto the ball for phase after phase. They'll give penalties away and he'll win with a structured attack, I think. So I know the pressure is on him to pick Russell, and probably he could do the job if he listens. But your opinion?
Yeah, the tough thing must probably be especially for the Lions as well. They're going to have 5 or 6 games before they play their first test match. So there's going to be a bunch of new guys. Say they pick Finn Russell. There's going to be a bunch of new guys that needs to understand within a very quick time what his thought process is going to be every time he gets his ball in his hands. But I think, as you said, like
Prendergast,
a guy who's very structured, he follows the plan. It's quite easy for a pack of forwards or backline to adapt to a player like that, but if you've got a guy who's got just grubbers underneath your feet or you have to be able to adjust to that quite quickly, or you can find yourselves on your own post.
Because Prendergast is kind of a hybrid between the two, eh?
Yeah.
Because he's got the skill set, he's got fantastic skills, but also so used to playing a structured game. Obviously, with Farrell being there,
Sexton too going over, presumably to be a big sort of consultant advisor to backline attack, and he made a comment that he would, if he had to choose between Owen Farrell and the Scottish Finn Russell, if he had to choose between those two, he would always go with a structured player.
Yeah.
So I mean, Finn Russell's got work to do to win him over.
It's interesting, the risk is that you're so dependent on one player. If he has an off day with those guys, then the team doesn't function. And there's always that risk because you're not going to be at your best forever. It's an interesting position to be
South
in.
Africa's got the same one. We've got a Sasha and Ngomazulu, and we've also got a Pollard. We've got a Mani Libok. Mani Libok possibly sort of a mixture of the two. Someone like Sasha having to learn to be more team orientated, and Pollard very team orientated, incredibly structured, well disciplined. So we've also got similar challenges.
And again,
choices.
the composition of the team, I suppose. Who do you have in those outside channels? Do you want to get them more hands on the ball, kind of thing? Probably a conversation we'll go into in a next episode. Hopefully by then we find Shemi as well. Speaking about Shemi, how good is it to see Jono Augustus, Trokkie, doing so well?
Exceptionally well.
Yeah, do you reckon, he's moving to Ulster now, do you reckon he might be in the mix for a Bok caller?
It's going to be tough.
Position.
Position, yeah. I think I think everyone is starting to find some lack of form again. I think he's playing exceptionally well. Jasper's coming back from a neck injury now. So I think that
Sia's playing at 8 as well.
Sia's playing at 8. So I think that eighth man spot is tough. And I think Trokkie has just been outside of the South African viewership and the selectors' eyesight for a bit too long now.
Playing a bit at 6 as well, so who knows? It's great to see a guy like that.
It is. It is being.
Okay, guys, it's not just the Investec Champions Cup; it's the European Challenge Cup as well on this weekend. So the semi-finals: Edinburgh versus Bath. Edinburgh now, a couple of losses,
Injuries. Bath
going really well. It's great to see the success that Johan van Graan. Actually, a big South African contingent there: Thomas du Toit, Jaco, Kutsia, Quinn Roux, Francois van Wyk, Louis Kreder.
Very nice.
Big South Africa. So how do we see that one going? And just a word on maybe firstly on Johan.
He's done a fantastic job, and I think he's surrounded himself with some good coaches as well. They've got a very, very good attacking coach there, and he is a very structured, well organized, disciplined coach, and has got a very good. His personal relationships with his players are very good. He's a kind, good person. So I think, and a hard worker. So you don't finish. You're not 10 points above everyone else on the competition without having done lots of things well.
They're running away with it.
And I think Edinburgh. Edinburgh, as you said, slipped up against the Sharks and lost. They beat the Bulls, but that I think was. More the Bulls, not really.
Than Edinburgh.
Yeah. So I think, as I said,
Going, looking further ahead, Franco Smith's done well, Johan van Graan's done well. Are those kind of the guys we're looking at potentially in the future that could step into the Bok coaching position?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think they've driven teams very well, especially with Glasgow winning the ORC last year at Bath. Running away with the Premiership, I think 100% they could easily slot in well in the Springbok setup.
Would it not have to be with Rassie as director? That's the sort of thing. It's hard to see Rassie going anyway.
I think it's just good to be able to throw in more names into the current what they have. Tony Brown, Felix Jones, Jerry Flannery, Dion Davids. Don Heeman, Rassie, and now Johan van Graan potentially stick.
And
Ackerman, isn't he with the under 20s now?
I think he is. Yeah.
He's in that environment. But the more we can have in South Africa, and again, being able to learn overseas and bring that IP back to South Africa, I think it's great. Okay, other semi-final: Lyon versus Racing 92, playing at Lyon.
Yeah, I go with the home side. Racing seem to be up in the air at the moment. There are lots of.
They're also way down in the top 14. They beat Stad this weekend. It seems like Stad might be
in trouble.
Might be relegated.
Yeah, they're really in trouble. They have to play a promotion relegation game, I think. So that was a fight, to get off the bottom.
For Paris.
For Paris, and they've got lots of money. And the guy was getting very, very upset. He had a go at Farrell, and. I just don't think if an unhappy French side doesn't perform well in competitions like this. And Lyon playing at home, they're a decent side, well organised.
Probably go Lyon that one. How do you see it?
Yeah, I also say probably home ground advantage.
But it's probably the one out of the 4 games we'll see this weekend that's the least exciting one.
Yeah, the least exciting, exactly.
But probably the closest
good
as
English,
well.
Done. Yeah. Very good. From a Belgian boy.
What was good with my English?
What was the best?
Okay, so let's go to predictions. We're getting towards the end of the episode. We're going to start with that. We're going to start with the Sunday game. Leon versus Racing 92. Who's your winner? Kitsi.
Leon.
5-5.
Leon.
Leon.
South Africa. Leon. Ja, Leon.
Leos.
Gaan met hom.
Leos.
Ken nie verrassing nie. Die raas so. Edinburgh Bath.
Bath.
Yeah.
Bath. Bordeaux Toulouse. That's probably
That's the most exciting.
that's the most exciting.
The most
excitable.
Who's winning that, guys? Bordeaux Toulouse.
I'm going to go with my gut feeling. I think Bordeaux is going to win him.
Bordeaux.
Yeah. It's a great team to lose. Pack has to get on top. Otherwise, Bordeaux is going to take it.
So what's
Bordeaux's
the prediction then, Nick?
Bordeaux is going to take it.
Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Bordeaux to win. That will be a big result.
Yeah, it will.
If that happens.
Yeah.
Bordeaux Toulouse will be a great final, or Toulouse. Toulouse Leinster.
Yeah.
Because I think.
So let's go to that one quickly. Leinster Saints.
Leinster.
Yeah.
Leinster.
Yeah.
Leinster. So a Leinster Bordeaux or Leinster Toulouse final.
Worthy of the championship.
Yeah.
So as with averages, okay, Bordeaux has beaten Toulouse twice this year.
Yeah.
Toulouse a world-class team.
Yeah.
So you're saying Bordeaux's got the capability and ability to beat Toulouse 3 times in one season?
Every game starts as though nothing's happened prior to that.
Yeah.
So you can go back on history, how many times teams have won. It means nothing. What matters is on the day, they're playing in Bordeaux. They've got a lot of... Yeah, I say they take it.
But I would also think that Bordeaux might have like that little bit of edge now. Like that they play with confidence because they know probably previous years struggling to get a win over them. And they just this season got their number somehow.
No Dupont, I think, is a big loss.
A big loss as well.
Yeah.
He really does make a difference of 14 points every time he plays. No matter what level he plays at. If he plays in a semi-final of a World Cup or a Champions Cup, he will come up with something to save a try or win a try that'll be worth 14 points to his team.
So when there's no Dupont, they play more to lose than
to win.
Oh, that is so poor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Any last words, Kitsi, Spicy Plum, Ninja, Ninja, Fanta Pants? Nothing?
He's going ready. Flashy.
Not going ready, he's ready. Nick, anything from you to add?
No, I've said hardly anything.
No, actually not.
Moving on.
Nick doesn't like to talk at all. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. That unfortunately brings us to the end of the episode. Next week, we will be back reviewing the semi-finals, previewing the finals. Thank you very much to Investec for sponsoring the show.
Say hi to Matt Williams from us.
Nick would like to say hi to Matt Williams. Until next week, thank you very much. Comments, everything, all those nice things. But for now, please also comment about Shimmy. But for now, the box office is closed.